typically, the programming was very complete, very deep, worked very well. They were able to set up whole units of fighters that would be living in society, be activated like a Manchurian candidate, and then do different things. And basically, I turned, when I realized I had been involved in this, I said, well, I got to do everything I can to reverse this. That's why anyone who would come to me and say, hey, am I one of these guys, I'd check them out, and if they wanted, I'd work with them to deprogram them. And this is where I built the main line of metaphysical research I'm on right now. It's from deprogramming these Montauk boys. It wasn't until the late 90s that I realized I was involved mentally, psychically in the deprogramming. As you can tell, this is distasteful to me to talk about. Because it was nasty. It was very nasty.
During the time travel thing in Montauk, did anyone go back to the time of Christ?
Yes.
And what came from that?
Something about the blood of Christ. Something about they had an idea, they wanted to send someone back, get a sample of the blood of Christ, clone it, and then take someone who's still physically related to the person, chew them up with the blood of Christ, do a DNA analysis, and say that person is Christ returned. But whatever this substance was, it was brought back from 2,000 years ago, and when they handled it, it basically transformed them.
You say it transformed. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
It seemed to suppress any of the negative attributes the person had, which fits in with the information out of the future about the 24th gene pair that I call the altruism gene that keeps the negative genetics in check. 99% of the people on this planet have it, unactive, not active. And I'm working on ways to bring that back. And I'm speculating that whatever function was on this blood of Christ business had a tendency to surface the 24th gene pair out of the 23rd gene pair. And then the person would become more altruistic and more living as Christ was teaching us to live.
Okay. Here's one. As a scientist, what do you think of the hollow Earth? Let me see, the question just flipped up here on me. The internal structure of the Earth's makeup, is that a valid theory, or is there anything to that at all? Or?
Yeah, there's something to it. There are huge caverns that are underground. There are huge underground caverns with whole civilizations living in it. The Earth is not a Dyson sphere, but there are big caverns.
Okay.
No bird could have flown into one of those big caverns. There's no doubt that he could have.
That would be up towards the North Pole, correct, or South Pole?
North or South Pole.
Okay. Another question from the chat is, what about the Wanacue Reserve in New Jersey? Was that electromagnetic space-time anomaly in the 1970s connected to the Montauk
Project? I don't
know.
know. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
You'll have to give me a second or so. I gotta go use the bathroom. I'll pick up the wireless phone. So
I think I'll go ahead and think I'll go ahead and play a break while you go, or a song rather, play a break. I'll play a song while you do that, and we'll come back in just a minute, folks.
Hello, I'm back.
All right. So where do we leave off?
I apologize for that. Every so often, nature calls.
Yes, it does. So, is there anything you'd like to convey to the people in the listening audience that are hearing us? Is there any type of message or anything you'd like to convey to them?
Well, as I've already said, I welcome visitors. I will talk to people on the phone. And don't fear. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself, or an old adage. And keep trying to learn. If you have a day where you don't learn anything, you haven't lived.
Was it the super intelligent people in the movie Dune said the fear is the mind killer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, fear is a mind killer. What's the worst they're going to do to you? Kill you. So what?
Yeah, you get to a certain point in life, you realize that there is no such thing as death.
Right. I've learned that.
You just transform. You just go into the next life where you're going to be at.
Because how you live now is going to determine what your next life is like. There's no heaven or hell. It's just, if you're a bad boy, you might become a cockroach. Or if you're a good boy, you'll go to a much better living condition. That's the way I look at heaven and hell.
Have you ever heard of Andrew Basiago?
No, I haven't.
It's very interesting. He talks about being part of a project where he was sent forward in time along with several other kids. He was 12 at that time when that happened.
Sounds like he was part of Monarch. Sounds like he was part of Monarch.
Yeah, he talks about going through some kind of tunnel they would open and going into the future, and he went to the year 2045, and he was walking around in a building, and a couple of women, one of them gasped and pointed at him and said, "There's Andy." So it was almost like they were expecting him to arrive in the future. And then they're supposed to have some kind of chrono glasses. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or if you know anything about it.
Yeah, I've heard that one. That's right out of H.G. Wells.
Okay. So did they have anything like that at Montauk where they could look at the future?
Yeah, we did. We could decode it out of the computer of what the psychic was seeing in the Montauk chair and display it on a TV screen, put audio through speakers.
That's very interesting. So it's almost like watching a TV show.
Yeah, pretty much. It got boring at times.
I think the days of science fiction books and buying those or selling those is going to come to an end here in the future. I'm not sure, but just a hunch.
Well, let me talk about science fiction.
Okay.
Let's go back to when I was like 8 or 9 years old. There used to be a TV show called Science Fiction Theater, produced by Ivan Torres and Madman Max Smith. And these guys would have a science demonstration of what the story was based on in the beginning. I've come to realize, since I've been looking at that again, that's what has shaped my interest, starting as a young kid. Now, a lot of your science fiction stories from about the 50s up are based purely on security leaks of secret projects, government projects. So if you want to get an idea of what's going on, very carefully study the science fiction. It's there. The Montauk Project came out in a movie, something called the Life Force Experiment, which was an adaptation of the Montauk Project. They didn't steal Peter Moon and my story directly, but it was an adaptation of it. And I've seen adaptations of the Montauk Project in quite a few different movies. You know, bits and pieces of it. So science fiction is very interesting, and I look at science fiction shaped my life.
I've said for a long time, whatever is science fiction today, we can make science reality tomorrow. I mean, what was it, back in the 20s or 30s, they had movies about Buck Rogers flying around in a spaceship, shooting a laser, and then what was in the 60s, we did that very thing.
Well, the very first program of science fiction theater, this guy, Truman Bradley, who was an old-time silent film actor, comes on the screen, does a demonstration. He turns on this device, which is an oscillator, audio oscillator, and an amplifier, hooked to this thing that looks like a parabolic reflector with an ice pick stuck in the center of it. He turns this thing on, points it at the wall, and burns the paint off the wall. I'd love to know what that's about. I've been trying to find out. And this was the part of the show that's supposed to be reality back then. Where did that speaker come from? I'm told it might be a Western Electric tweeter in a reflector. I don't know for sure. There's very little available on focusing sound.
Okay. We do have another caller that wants to come on, and
Sure.
if you're ready for another, okay. This is Mark from England. Mark, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Thomas. Good evening, Nick.
Hello, Governor.
Hiya. Listen, I'm really interested. I always have been interested about the Montauk projects. I live over in Wiltshire near the Avebury Stone Circles, and also up near West Kennet Long Barrow. And there's a place that I go to, and I'm not the only one, but time slips. I was going to ask you about the time slips, because a couple of us experienced it down up in amongst the trees where we were. One stage we've seen and experienced the going right back where we saw hunters hunting the auroch it was extinct about 10,000 years ago. But then there was battles that we sort of could smell, feel, and we had a feeling that we were actually seen at one stage. I just wondered if the projection also covered that at all.
Oh, what you're talking of is very possible. We know the Earth itself has the capability of generating time warps and metaphysical zones. I live in what's known as Sleepy Hollow, that the Rip Van Winkle stories are from, and there's time slips here as well. So it's very possible that you're experiencing something. Theory is it's something tied to pyramids in the Earth's molten core.
Yeah, well, here we have, like I say, we've got Avebury stones, the Avebury stones, plus we've, there's a lot of places around here with power and energy. Mm-hmm. And I just thought I'd get your opinion on it and see what you thought about it, because I've never been projected forward. It's always the slips that I've experienced. I've always experienced them going back in time. Mm-hmm. Never project forward.
Well, it's very difficult to go forward, but it's easy to go back.
Yeah, I suppose it is. There's a few of them. A couple of my friends because here is the home of the crop circles. you know, where I actually live. I go out amongst the crop circles.
Right.